I'm Kathleen and I'm a Stoneleigh Fellow. My interest in children and parents in the child welfare system really started when I was in law school. I spent one summer working in a family law firm and learning about custody issues. And I spent another summer working at a prisoners' rights organization. I really started to see the issues that come up when child welfare and incarceration intersect. And I can tell you, working with women, the number one thing that I saw is that their primary concern of almost every woman that I met was their children in child custody. I had a client who was incarcerated on a relatively minor charge and didn't have a long sentence. And when I got into the case, it was very striking to me how little support she was receiving from anybody, even though she was being served by two major municipal systems. She was being served by the Department of Human Services and she was being served by the Philadelphia prison system. Still, there was this sense that everybody had given up on her. She wasn't being given visits with her child. She wasn't receiving any regular communications from her caseworker. She had no idea how her child was doing on a day-to-day basis. She had not seen her child in months and months. She had no idea how to reach her DHS worker. The work that I've done with the Stoneleigh Foundation so far has shown me that social workers don't necessarily want to ignore these families, they just don't know how to serve the families best. So my hope is that we can work to develop a practice guide to kind of demystify the process for social workers about, well, how do I schedule a visit at jail? How do I find out who my client's prison social worker is? How do I go and meet with the client myself and talk to them one-on-one? These are things that are actually pretty easy to do, but people are scared to do them because they think they're hard. In 1997, the federal government passed the Adoption and Safe Families Act, and that's legislation that required all states to adopt the 15 out of 22 month requirement. And that requirement says that anytime a child is in foster care, the goal is parent-child reunification. However, after 15 months has passed, if that child has still not successfully reunified, the goal must be changed to adoption. So what we know nationally is the average state sentence for a mother who has a child in foster care is 4 years. So even if a child has been removed from the parent for no reason other than parental incarceration, meaning that they weren't actually abused or neglected, but they have a parent who is absent due to incarceration, the 15-month time frame can very easily result in termination of parental rights and adoption. There's a real kind of prejudice and belief system that these are bad parents and these parent-child relationships are somehow contaminated and they're not worth preserving. But the reality for these children is that they know their parents and they love their parents and they miss their parents. And more than anything else, they want to see, speak with, and touch their parents. In most cases, when children get out, they're going to return and live with that parent. In most cases, they are going to reunify with that parent. So we have to be laying the groundwork for successful reunification from the moment that the parent is incarcerated and the moment that the child enters foster care. So the more that we are able to encourage and support the parent-child relationship during incarceration, the more successful the reunification is likely to be. The Stoneleigh Foundation Fellowship is actually a huge dream come true for me. If I did not have this fellowship, I would not be doing this work. The reality is there's a huge will, there's a huge public will right now to change. We're so fortunate to have a prison commissioner who is willing to change, and we have a DHS commissioner who's willing to change. And not only are they willing to change, they want to change. A lot of these parents are able to safely parent their children if they're given the kind of support that they need. So when we say that these parents don't deserve to reunify with their children, we're saying that these children don't deserve to have loving and productive relationships with their parents. And I don't think anybody in the child welfare system really wants to say that. I think if you care about outcomes for kids, you have to care about outcomes for their parents.